Today's video was supposed to be about getting my Hellcat Wrangler dyno tuned, but as you'll soon find out, my Wrangler had other plans.
Here I am, I've got the wiring undone again because I'm trying to chase an issue where the Holly computer is reading bad AFRs.
On the left is my engine's computer, while on the right is a standalone gauge I use for testing. Readings from my engine's computer are out of control, and I'm not sure why.
I've checked continuity in all the places that matter. I've redone my grounds on this entire car, and I couldn't find an issue, And I actually tried my old Holly as well, and now they both read bad AFRs.
I gave up on the bad reading issue and decided to address a slow oil leak first, when, funny enough, I found a new coolant leak.
It's time for the first oil change. While I'm at it, I'm gonna fix a slow leak in the oil pan. The oil's been spraying all over the exhaust, and it kind of stinks it up from time to time. Oh yeah, straight into the bucket. Okay, I see where it's leaking. Boom, you can see right there. And this is kind of chewed up a little bit. I wonder if I should try to replace this. Yep. No metal fragments. Alright. I applied a liberal amount of gasket maker. So if this doesn't fix it this time, then I'll have to replace the timing cover gasket. The Rockets lost game 7 tonight. Just like the Rockets.
And then I went back to fix that new coolant leak.
Alright, I replaced the lines with even tighter lines. It took me all night because it's just so difficult to work back here. I need to clean all this up. I put on the battery, and then I go to bump the key, and this is the sound I hear. Things are breaking as I'm fixing them. It's annoying, but again.
One new starter later, and it also didn't want to work.
Well, I'm expecting this to be an issue with how I installed the oil pan, which is a shame because I just filled it up with oil. Brand new oil down the drain. Note to self, next time I install this oil pan, I won't fill it up with oil before trying to start it. You know, the silver lining here is that I've still got all my tools laid out. So I'm glad I didn't put them away. Just never put your tools away. You never know when you're gonna need them next, right? There's water droplets, which means maybe something's leaking into some cylinders. Just took out the spark plug and it's got water. Well, that was exciting, wasn't it?
Water in a cylinder and low compression are telltale signs of a blown head gasket. This means that the seal between the engine block and the cylinder head has failed, allowing combustion pressure to enter the coolant system, which explains the spontaneous coolant leak from earlier, or water to leak into your cylinders over time. Because water isn't compressible, the starter couldn't turn the engine over enough to start. The engine is hydrolocked. The most common cause for a blown head gasket is overheating, because when things get too hot, they warp. So what was once a flat surface is now off by just a few thousandths of an inch, enough room for combustion pressure to escape and coolant to leak into a cylinder. So you remove your cylinder heads and drop them off at a machine shop to have them resurfaced, making them flat again. Then install them back onto the engine with new head gaskets and you're on your way. Kind of a lot of effort, but at least I don't have to remove the whole engine.
Ah, yeah. That's it. Woo. Nice. Here we are with the blown head gasket. Now I didn't bend this at all. It came off like this. So you can see, totally separated. This thing got hot, and I'm not entirely sure why. Alright, I've got them cleaned up. Oh. Yup, wow. Did they all break in the same place, bro? What is this? Alright, so here is the passenger side, and here is the driver's side. So you can see cracked piston, cracked piston, cracked piston, and yet another cracked piston. Wow. This is more carnage than I expected. With 4 cracked pistons, I've got to remove the whole engine. I've gotten regrettably good at removing and installing engines into this Jeep, so it really doesn't take that long to do. We'll be bringing this engine to a local machine shop and have them fix it. Now, I'd like to bring up that I've never overheated this engine. Its thermostat opens at 206 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've never seen the gauge read over 212, where it should be just fine. And I'm confident that this rating is accurate from a calibration standpoint, so this left me wondering what caused such carnage.
So what happened this time? After weeks of thinking about it, I believe it was because I didn't have this $8 part. This is a coolant overflow tank cap. Oh, why didn't I have it, right? Well, I haven't had a hood on this Jeep for weeks because in order to fit the supercharger, I had to remove the hood. Well, I did have one of these. So probably what happened is when I was doing 85 down the highway, my old cap flew off, and I didn't think much of it. But as it turns out, when an engine goes through its heat cycles, it pushes coolant out to the overflow, normally, and then when it cools down, it creates a vacuum and sucks that water back in. Well, because I didn't have a cap on my coolant tank, it allowed all the water to evaporate. Next thing you know, it's sucking back in air into the engine, creating an air pocket, which is causing localized hot spots in the cylinder head, which one way or another is going to cause an issue. Anyways, I've got the cap, and I need to get this sucker on the road.
Got the engine back from the machine shop. Here's one of those pistons. You can see, took a huge chunk out of it. Now, the machine shop could not source new pistons, so I've gone ahead and ordered another set of pistons. These are aftermarket Manleys. I intend on using the stock rods, but it means I need to change out this bushing here, which is why I had 8 bushings made local here to fit the new wrist pin size. So here we got all 8 rods, and then my bag of bushings. Ready to go to the rod shop first thing in the morning. Because the machine shop couldn't source pistons, it was up to me to rebuild this engine. Now, I've done 3 engine rebuilds up to this point, and they've all gone horribly wrong. Twice on the little 4-cylinder that came in this Jeep originally, and then once on the junkyard 5.7 Hemi that I swapped into it several years ago. And although I have a bad track record, I was determined to prove the haters wrong this time. The first thing I need to make sure I get right is the cylinder hone. This is the process of roughing the surface of the cylinder walls just enough so that the piston rings can seal effectively. To do this, I use a 220 grit cylinder hone from O'Reilly to get a uniform crosshatch on the cylinder walls. Next, I jerry-rigged a drill to precisely gap the new piston rings while my dad installed them onto the pistons. Thanks, Dad. The last critical step is to ensure the bearing clearances are within spec. If I don't get this right, the engine will blow up within minutes. Using a micrometer, I measured the diameter of the journal on the crankshaft, and then used that to calibrate a dial bore gauge. Then, I torqued the associated connecting rod to spec and measured it. Repeat for all 8 connecting rods and 5 main caps to ensure that all clearances are within less than 1/1000th of an inch. This part is so critical because if there's not enough clearance in those bearings, then oil won't be able to lubricate and you've got rod knock. And if there's too much clearance, again, oil won't be able to lubricate and you've spun a bearing. Next, I installed the freshened up cylinder heads using ARP hardware. Now, I actually ended up assembling this engine twice because I swapped the cylinder heads. They are actually the same part number, right to left, except this one does not have the hole tapped here that I need to put on the pulley bracket, and turns out it's right here. So, Gonna have to switch them. However, I've been talking to ChatGPT a little too much, and it has convinced me that I have not honed my cylinder walls enough. So I'll actually be taking this entire engine apart after assembling it very meticulously. As much as I didn't want to redo all that hard work, it gave me the opportunity to triple check those critical bearing clearances, and as mentioned, to touch up those cylinder bores. This is just for the peace of mind knowing that I did all that I could to keep this engine from failing catastrophically. My friend Jacob pulled up to help install the rotating assembly. Thanks, Jacob. Alright, the engine is finally fully reassembled, and it's ready to go back into the Jeep. Let's do this. Holy pucker factor, look at that gap. It's still swinging. I'm gonna get this in and stop talking about it. And it's in. That took hardly any time at all. I think it was only 2 hours since I've had my ice cream break. Then it was finally time to test it. I've got the Jeep outside, and it's ready to go. I am unbelievably nervous because the last time I rebuilt this Jeep's engine, it was a failure. So hopefully not this time, and we can just do a great first run and break it. Let's do it. Good oil pressure.
Sounds good.
I know. Good oil pressure. Good oil pressure. There was a ticking. It went away, but it's not cooling. So I'm gonna let it chill out for a while. Make sure the coolant's good after it cools off, and then try again in a little bit. It's very relieving, very relieving. The cooling issue ended up fixing itself. Sometimes a new thermostat will wait uncomfortably long to open. I've already put over 50 miles on the new engine, and it seems to be working better than ever. Even the air-fuel ratings make sense, for now at least. It's been a ton of work and many sleepless nights to get this Jeep back on the road, and I cut out 95% of it to leave you with all the action. So if you do me a favor, hit subscribe, because in the next episode, we'll be weighing this Jeep and putting it on the dyno, as long as it stays in one piece.